Hello, Warriors of Light. Welcome to my first reaction video of the man himself, Quazii. I will be posting his link in the description down below, so if you guys want to follow him, everything. But this guy, he makes fantastic videos. I highly recommend checking him out, especially with Final Fantasy XIV. I'm really impressed with his like Geomancer videos. And I just like what he says about MMOs. He's been a World of Warcraft player, and now he's like a Final Fantasy XIV player, and he kind of has a little bit of variety as well. But this is gonna be my reaction. It's about more rewards need for Final Fantasy XIV variant and Criterion dungeons ? This is the big topic right now in Final Fantasy XIV, and I have a few things to say about it as well, but we'll see. Obviously, I'm really curious what he has to say about it. I have not watched this video yet or anything like that, so this is my reaction to that. I'm probably not gonna be very good at reaction stuff. This is kind of like a new content. The only thing I've done is like live letters reactions, so we'll see. I think there's a lot to say about it. I have a lot of ideas and just my thought process, but let's see what he has to say. Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, how is your patch 6.25 experience? Naturally, the focus
Pretty good.
of 6.25, aside from the Mandeville relic weapons, is the Variant and Criterion dungeon launches. This is something that's been anticipated a long time now, ever since Yoshipi covered that in a producer live letter. A lot of folks are looking forward to this as the new form of 4-man endgame content, that this will be a viable endgame content to raiding. And I think it's fair to say that the community sentiment is best reflected by the two screenshots that I have on screen here. In a nutshell, I think we can all agree Variant and Criterion dungeons are extremely fun. They are fun.
Yeah, they are pretty fun. I think obviously he's going to be talking about it. The rewards is the biggest part, especially Savage, which was very confusing. Right now it doesn't feel rewarded, but I guarantee he's going to be talking about it in the future. But the content overall is good, in my opinion. It is good. But it does need to update the rewards.
The act of playing itself, the act of taking on the challenge is fun. I think most people from the comment section that I've seen in the last two videos would say so. But there's a more complicated issue I'd like to discuss today, and that is the reward for completing Criterion dungeons and whether that is sufficient. And it's quite a complex topic because I feel like both sides of the coin do make sense, and I just want to share my 2 cents on it. Now, before we get started, if you like my coverage of Final Fantasy XIV, do subscribe to the channel. That will really mean the world to me. Our happy family in the comment section awaits you. So let's get started.
Yo, hit the subscribe button for him, alright? This guy's awesome, alright? Here we go.
About why there's been a lot of chatter around the reward system not being, I guess, adequate for Criterion dungeons. Firstly, let's make no mistake about it. The only reason why people want better rewards from Criterion dungeons is because Criterion dungeon is inherently itself fun alongside Variant dungeons. I think Yoshipi and T has done a great job on that. The fact that it's fun warrants people asking, hey, can we have better rewards from maybe doing Criterion dungeons, please? Or can I have better rewards from Variant dungeons? Because imagine if the game mode wasn't fun, there wouldn't be any.
Now, to be fair, I think Variant Dungeon is fine. Maybe that's a hot take or not, but I do think so. Variant Dungeons, god dang it, phone. Variant Dungeons, they have like hidden rewards that are in the dungeon itself, which I don't feel like too many people have talked about it. And like there's minions, there is like, I think there's like an umbrella thing. There's cards and stuff that you can get from the chests, and I don't see too many people talking about this, but there is a decent amount of rewards. Now the overall vendor rewards, there's not too much except for the spy outfit, but for casual content, I feel like it's kind of enough. My problem for me is mostly Criteria and the Savage difficulty. That's my issue so far.
Many players are all asking for rewards to be added to this game mode because they couldn't put themselves through that torture in order to get those rewards. So the only reason why I think people are suggesting maybe we need better rewards from Criterion dungeons, it stems from a place recognizing that variant and Criterion dungeons could be a very big thing for Final Fantasy XIV endgame, especially if you prefer not raiding in big groups of 8, or if you don't enjoy PvP, or you don't enjoy crafting or RP and the other forms of endgame.
It's easy to get a group together.
And you know what? I think there's a lot of merits behind that. It's way easier to form a 4-man cell just to attempt Criterion dungeons. Heck, I'm doing it tonight on a Friday night with some very close friends of mine from the moderator team. And I'm really looking forward to wiping the floor with them. Honestly, you don't always get the kind of chemistry in a bigger group of 8 because I guess there's a lot of crosstalk while you're in Discord. A smaller group just makes it easier for cozier banter. But the point is, the community at large recognizes that variant and Criterion dungeons can be really great for the endgame. So now let's move on to talk.
So before he gets ahead here, I was just thinking that that to me, now I'm newer to Final Fantasy XIV. I've only been playing for a little bit over a year, I think now. I started at the like 5.4 Shadowbringers, and to me, just knowing how 14 comes out with like the content and stuff, like this is the foundation. This is the first Criteria dungeon, and I don't know, they're probably playing it safe and stuff like that. Not saying that's the right thing to do, but like Final Fantasy XIV, like they take their time. It's kind of like Island Sanctuary, right? When Island Sanctuary came out, people they want more, right? Like I want more variety, buildings and stuff like that. And it's kind of like this, but this one's a little bit different with like I said, the higher up difficulty ones, I think. But variant dungeons, I think it's fine. I think they can always add in more rewards. I was just thinking that maybe, because we are supposed to get 2 more dungeons, Criteria dungeons in 6.4. They did post that we're supposed to get 2 and 3. So we're supposed to get 2 more, and they could always add in rewards if they want to. It'd be pretty easy, like, because it's just like silver coins and stuff like that. So I don't know. We'll just have to see how the foundation is and everything like that. But let's just keep going on with Quazii. I'm really curious what Quazii is going to say about what he thinks they should do and stuff like that. So let's see.
Talk about the hairy topic regarding increasing rewards from variant and Criterion dungeons. Let's start with the side of the house that's asking for more rewards. Just to recap in terms of rewards, what you're actually getting in-game. If you beat the variant dungeons all 12 paths, you actually get rewarded by the Silky Mount. Most will agree that is the biggest draw of variant dungeons. Criterion dungeons, on the other hand, the currencies that you get. Right now, as you guys can see on screen, you get to exchange it for a mount, an orchestron roll, some adventurer plate stuff, and as well as materia. And I guess some people would say that, well, you see, after
that goddamn materia, huh?
after I finished gathering all the currencies, I bought all these things out, there's no real reason to continue running Criterion dungeons again. And herein lies the biggest dilemma that Yoshi P and team has. On one hand, let's say they introduce a list of many more mounts and many more rewards that you can potentially get. Maybe season-only limited mounts, season-only limited adventurer plates or orchestron roll. Things that will go away in a month or a couple of weeks.
That'd be terrible.
Maybe it isn't even time-gated. It simply just exists, but there's a lot of rewards to work towards too. On our current side of the house, naturally there'll be a lot of people who say, great, finally there's a reason to run all these Criterion dungeons again and again.
I don't think that would be the way.
Collect all these achievements and collect all these items. And that's great for me. There's something to work towards too in the game. There's actual tangible motivations for you to keep on repeating content that you have already cleared, just so that you can work towards these rewards. And I do understand that some people play MMORPGs in this fashion. There's a certain system and guardrails that are put in place to tell you, alright, when you log on today, this is what you'll be doing. You'll be working towards unlocking this mount, unlocking this glamour, or unlocking this adventurer plate. And I would say most MMORPGs, especially from the Western world, they work like that. I'm a WoW refugee, I know exactly how that system works. But I can definitely see the point of some people, especially since Criterion Dungeons is way harder than Variant Dungeons. They would like to access more rewards for the feat of beating the Criterion Dungeons and the Criterion Savage equivalent. I've even seen some suggestions for Criterion or Criterion Savage rewards to allow for certain gear drops or even gear upgrades. So for instance, you can gear your alts through Criterion Dungeons or Criterion Savage.
Okay, I 100% think Final Fantasy XIV will have to eventually, I don't know if it'll be this expansion or next expansion or whatever, but I would say soon they will need to have something to be able to gear your alts, like to be able to play more classes with your alts. I haven't rated too much myself. I just started my Savage rating actually this tier. But off of watching other streamers, other content creators, and stuff like that, it seems like you can only, I don't know, the time frame to gear one whole character up, like at best in slot for it's a while. It's definitely a while. And I think they definitely need to upgrade it so like you can play other roles, play other classes, other jobs in the raid. So like if you're a raid, it's better for raiders to have that, just so like, because they like that content, like give them, you know, more flexibility to like, hey, I want to gear my, I don't know, my paladin this time, you know, I want to gear one of my tanks so I can actually go tank and stuff like that. Or, you know, even though you're playing a like red mage or something, or, you know, your samurai, you just want to gear up multiple alts and you can go in with more things. You can do more things like raiding and stuff, and try it with different classes. I think this is a big thing that 14 needs to do eventually, and I think Criterion could work for it. I did like a few ideas. I think they could put it in there, but we'll have to see if they actually do. But Criterion, I don't know. Like, the reason why I think they need the gear is because we're gonna get so many jobs. Like, if we get 2 more jobs next, like is that like 23 jobs or something like that? And like, you can't. There's no way you can gear. It's not supposed to be gear all of them, but I feel like you should be able to gear like 3 or 4, maybe a patch. So it would be nice to find a way to have more ways to unlock gear. So I don't know. That's just my opinion. I do think 14 will have to figure that out here sooner than later, but we'll see. What was Quazii say?
It might not drop the BIS item that you can get from raids, although I know some people are also advocating for that, because Criterion Savage itself is no stroll in the park. But generally I've seen discussions about adding gearing sources and gearing drops or gear upgrade drops for just completing Criterion dungeons. And that is potentially an interesting philosophy, and I think this idea definitely have legs here, but I'm sure Yoshi P and team needs to be very careful around how they implement these kind of gear, right? How does it play in relation to the Savage raids, those of 8-man party? Do they want Criterion dungeons to be a completely viable way to gear your character BIS? That will also mean that they...
Well, I think it's fine. Like I said, I think it's fine because like Criterion is going to come. It's going to come after what, almost 2 months from the Savage tier. Like, it should be fine for the Criterion to just open up and get gear. If they put it in Criterion dungeons, it should be fine. Because one, like, yeah, if a newer player comes in, okay, well then they get both ways. They can do the Savage tier and they can do the Criterion. Should be fine. Like, the Criterion is not going to do anything for the Savage raid tier, because most people already have that gear, at least the raiders and stuff. And it's kind of interesting too, because Savage, you actually need the gear because it doesn't do the. I don't think it does the where it. Why can't I think of the word? Where it syncs you up. So it doesn't sync you up. I think you actually need the gear for Savage. I haven't done it yet. I've only done Criterion. And yeah, I think, like, I just don't think it's a worry that, if they put it in Criterion, it shouldn't be much of a problem because it's like 2 months after the raid tier, so you don't have to worry. But yes, like Quazi's saying here, Yoshi P does have to like figure this out and what they exactly want to do.
Start developing PvE endgame for both Criterion Savage as well as the regular Savage releases.
I don't know. I don't think it'd be that bad.
They have the developmental resources to do both, and to do both of them well. Because I do think there's a reason why Variant and Criterion dungeons are released in 6.25. Because releasing Criterion Savage and the normal Savage raid at the same time might be too taxing. But generally, I do think that people asking for better rewards from Criterion and Variant dungeons, they definitely have every right to do so, because this is how they like to...
Well, they'll never release it at the same time. It'll never... I don't think it'll ever happen. It'll just be in the game. It's just like 6.4, the raid will come out probably, the week after 6.4. And then the 2 and 3 Criterion dungeons won't come up until the next like halfway patch. So
enjoy their MMORPGs. And let's face it, generally the rewards given by Yoshi P and team, they are very well sought after. They are not like some random recoloration of a mount that you already own.
That's true.
We know which game we're talking about. Just think about Island Sanctuary rewards, right?
True.
We had really cool, unique looking mounts with unique hairstyles to look forward to, and they all pretty much look great. And as a collector myself, if Yoshi P and team actually puts emotes or glamours behind Criterion Savage and Criterion Dungeons, I will definitely feel incentivized to work towards that, not gonna lie. But that's one side of the coin. Let's talk about the other side of the coin as well. So I think Yoshi P and team have this eternal tension of how much rewards should we put in for a certain game mode. Because remember, they always envision Final Fantasy XIV as a theme park for Final Fantasy. Their intention is not for you to be bound to a certain activity and to do the activity for the rest of your life. There was always this philosophy of trying to get you to explore the different parts of 14 casually. Now,
and to be fair, Criterion Dungeons is not, it's not a Mythic Plus. To me, Criterion Dungeons is like a challenge mode, like Mr. Pandaria for World of Warcraft back in the day when we had the like heroic and challenge mode dungeons. And I feel like that's what Criterion Dungeons are. It's kind of like a heroic dungeon in Final Fantasy XIV. It's not a Mythic Plus. It's not a continuation thing. And by the time this patch will have, or this expansion will have 3 total in there for harder, challenging stuff. So, and Final Fantasy XIV is a game where you have to, when you do the content, there is like an end point. Like I did everything that I can with this, and then you kind of move on from it if you beat it. So, but yeah, let's go. Keep going.
Imagine a world where they created, let's say, 15 cool mounts and I guess 15 sets of glamour that you can get from Criterion and Variant dungeons. And they all cost an exorbitant amount of currency, which requires you to work months and months on end to basically collect all of them. The issue with this is that on one hand, while they satisfy the people who basically want a system and guardrails for them to say, oh, when I log on today, this is something that I can work towards too. While that crowd is happy, there's also another crowd that doesn't have as much time to play in Final Fantasy XIV, or maybe they don't like the PvE endgame. This crowd then is stuck with no access to all these cool glamour and mounts and unique stuff that Yoshi P and team creates. Because think about it,
there has to be an endpoint.
WoW emote that they just released, I think most people loved it. There's a reason why that emote exists for the Variant dungeon and not the Criterion dungeons. Because I think Yoshi P and team wants their reward to be accessible to everyone. The problem with increasing the rewards exponentially for Criterion and Criterion Savage, you start limiting the amount of people who can get access to the coolest stuff in your game. And while some of that is healthy, like think about ultimate raids, right? You have this cool looking ultimate weapons that drop only from ultimate raids. That's the reward for your months and months of hard work. But notice that beyond titles and weapons, Yoshi P and team didn't basically load hairstyles, mounts, and all these things into ultimate raids. Why? Because there's this eternal tension in their head that they need to think about, which is for a certain game mode, how much should I reward the player base for? If I reward them too much, people who don't like this game mode will start complaining that, well, that's really unfair because I don't really like this game mode and I can't access the rewards. Or there'll be people who don't mind doing the game mode, but their complaint is, I need to now spend so much time grinding the same content over and over again. Content that I already figured
just get burnt
out,
out
I just have to keep going through the motions in order to get those rewards. And you know what? On this side of the house, I can also empathize with people. I came from a very grindy MMORPG. You know, it's time gated, reward cycle from week to week. The vendor actually changes their rewards on a weekly basis. The folks who played patch 8.3 in World of Warcraft would know. So there's a sense of fear of missing out or FOMO, or this sense of anxiety that, oh, I need to complete everything by this week in order to get the coolest.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Quazii here. You know, he's playing the other, like, you can't overfill it. You can't overfill it. Like, there's no point. There has to be an endpoint in my... I think an endpoint is a lot better than having a infinite... It's kind of how I feel about rifts in Diablo 3. I mean, it's cool to push, and I guess like even Mythic Plus, you know, it's cool to push, but like it's kind of, I don't know, it always feels better, like especially with like Paragon levels and stuff like that. I always liked a max level. If these are ARPGs we're talking about, not WoW, but you know, Diablo and like PoE. I like PoE more because there's an endpoint on total level, which is level 100. In Diablo 3, there is no endpoint. You can keep leveling, you keep doing your Paragon levels and stuff like that. People are not going to like, if like Quazii here said, like, we're going to load up 15 mounts, a bunch of things, we're just going to throw a bunch of rewards in there, people will get burnt out before they even finish collecting all of them. It's just too much, and running the same thing over and over again, because like you will take a break from variant to Criterion dungeons, for sure. So
rewards or the best rewards. It all goes back to this tension between people who want repeatable content to work towards two guardrails to tell them what to do in Final Fantasy XIV, and the people who generally don't like guardrails. They don't like systems, they don't like to be time-gated. They treat 14 as a theme park. You show up at Disneyland, you ride the Matterhorn, and then you go home with happy memories and a souvenir to boast about. So the point of this video is not to say that they should definitely increase more rewards, that is the right decision. Neither is the point of the video to say no, they shouldn't have more rewards for Criterion dungeons. The point of this video is that these are two conflicting viewpoints, and they come from different parts of the population. But one thing I can guarantee you, Yoshi P and team are definitely thinking about what to do for rewards. Maybe with all these forum and feedback from Reddit and social media,
I'm waiting for them to say something.
Rewards. Maybe if the voices get loud enough, Yoshi P and team will probably think about dialing up the knob slightly. Maybe we add a couple hairstyles. Maybe we add a new glamour set. I don't think it's their style to go to the extreme to say, oh, starting in the next variant dungeon or Criterion dungeons, we will now allow you to gear up BIS via this new game mode. That's too extreme. I think the way they like to do things is in incremental steps. I think that is more probable. But since we're on the topic of variant and Criterion dungeons, I think both sides of the house can definitely agree on something though. They have definitely stumbled upon something really interesting. This game mode definitely has legs, because the only negative feedback that we're receiving for this game mode largely all centers around the reward system. There's actually very little complaints about the gameplay itself. I think people agree that, oh, the battles are fun, the fights are fun, the
it's
bosses
good. It's
and
good
the
content.
mechanics are really fun to progress blind. Even the puzzles in the dungeon, they're really meaningful, and the lore about knowing about Ulda and a familiar NPC is really rewarding. And you can only imagine if they introduce something similar. Variant and Criterion dungeons for Limsa, for Ishgard, and then all your favorite NPCs like Moab, Imeric, Lucia, Estinian, they can all be part of this new Variant and Criterion dungeons launches down the line. And I'm sure that this is not the only Variant and Criterion dungeons that they intend to release, because Yoshi P and team actually already said this at a producer live letter. There will be more coming, folks. So I strongly believe if they figure out what's the optimal way to dish out rewards for Variant and Criterion dungeons, this game mode will only get more popular over time, and I'm sure they might discuss this during the next producer live letter, so I'll keep my eyes out for that. But with that,
I hope they say something before that though.
In the comments below. What do you folks think about the current reward system? And is there any direction you want them to take Variant and Criterion dungeons in? So that's my 2 cents, and if you like my coverage of Final Fantasy XIV on this channel, do subscribe to the channel. That would really mean a lot to me. Join our happy family today. I stream on Twitch from time to time, feel free to swing by. And speaking about that, you folks really enjoyed me co-streaming with the wife. You'll be pleased to know that we launched a brand new
I actually
vlog.
did enjoy
I'll make
that.
sure to drop a link in the description below if you'd like to follow that. With that, thank you so much for your
The
support.
VOD was
Have a
cool.
great day, folks. I will see you soon.
Alright, so that was the video. More rewards need for Final Fantasy XIV variant Criterion dungeon. I mean, it was good points overall. I kind of wanted him to, I don't know. I mean, he did kind of talk about it, but like the Savage, I do feel like it's a little under rewarding. I mean, it is a title. I don't know. Like, I feel like, because like Palace of the Dead, you get the title for the Necromancer, you know, if you solo it or whatever. But there are other things that you can get, especially in the higher levels, that are really cool prizes. Where in Savage Criteria right now, all I know, I don't know if there is any secret things in there, like, because there is a chest at the end, but it looks like you just get like materia. And that's not a good feeling, getting materia and you get the title, right? But maybe that's what Yoshi P and them are thinking, that this Savage part is just a challenge part. Like if you beat it, you get the title. That's it. You can show off the title. But like a lot of people's worries right now is the replayability. Like, why would I go do Savage again? So like, there's only like one reason to go do Savage, is to get the challenge and the title. I guess there's kind of 2 reasons. But not everyone people want the carrot at the end of the stick, right? And I don't think the title is such a big carrot. So, not for a lot of people. And I think they wanted probably I would say maybe 1 or 2 more rewards. Like, let's say we do 3 rewards for Savage at the end. It probably would be a lot better to run and a replayability. At least I would say it gives people more incentive to do it. I wouldn't go any more than that though. So maybe you get like a mount or something. Maybe I thought it'd be kind of cool if they, I don't know, I don't know if I would do it in Savage, but I was thinking that you could do like you get like pieces, like you can get like a transmog, like set or something like that to show off in town or whatever for like the Savage. It would give more people to incentivize to do it. But like Quazii is saying, like if we do more rewards for people to grind it and stuff like that, but I don't know. I just don't think my main issue is I just don't think a title is enough. But then I don't know. People do Necromancer and that stuff. That stuff's pretty hard. So I don't know. I don't know. It's an interesting conversation, and like he said, it's not the content that people are mad about; it's the rewards. Personally, I think variant's fine. Criteria, I think, is pretty much fine. Maybe I don't know. You can add another 1 or 2 rewards in there, but I wouldn't go any more than that. I think it's kind of fine. But like, this is their foundation mode. Like, this is the first one. They're gonna get the feedback. They're gonna learn from it, and like, okay, maybe we like Quasi said, we turn up the dial a little bit more for rewards. People want a little bit more rewards. Like again, I think variant's fine. I mean, mention down the comments down below. If I'm kind of curious, what do you think? How do you feel about variant? How do you feel about criteria? And how do you feel about Savage? Because I think those are the 3 different, reward structures. I think variant is fine. I think criteria, maybe 1 more reward that you can grind for, but let's be honest, they can just put them in there more. They might just keep the vendor there and they just add in more rewards and you get silver coins for multiple criteria dungeons, and maybe they make a roulette out of it. I don't know. But overall, Quasi did a fantastic job. He's really good at really thinking about like the system stuff. It's very, very good at he's really good, and I need to get better at this reaction. I kind of felt like this was okay. Like I said, I'm not kind of in my uncomfortable zone right now with reaction content, but I did like the video a lot, and I'm already subscribed to him. But yes, definitely subscribe to Quasi here. Awesome, dude. I very much enjoyed the video. Hopefully you enjoyed my reaction and everything like that. Make sure to hit my subscribe button. Comment down below what you thought. What are your thoughts of the Criteria dungeon? And I will see you all on the next one. Adios. But yeah, follow Quasi. Follow him. Sub. Like. All right. Out of here. Have a good one, everyone. Adios.